Yeah, we already knew Jokic had the best arm in Denver, and after that hit on Markieff Morris, you could argue he's the best checker in Denver as well. Jokic. Welcome back to Odd Man Sports. I'm your host, Brandon Perna. I'm also the co-founder of the Free OBJ movement, in which we fight for Odell Beckham's right to make like $500,000 per catch on the team of his choosing. We stand with you, brother Odell. We stand with you. On today's doozy of a show, I'll share a Michael Jordan Scottie Pippen story you haven't heard. I'll explain who is definitely probably behind this Aaron Rodgers mess, and I'll finally settle the debate on which came first, the chicken or the egg. And the answer may surprise you. Dinks and Dunks. Week 9 continued the trend of underdogs rewarding bettors with the, count 'em, 7 biggest favorites, each failing to cover. To date this season, favorites have only covered 42% of the time, which isn't necessarily an indication of future results, but something worth considering. And speaking of favorites, NFL players continued the trend of referencing some of my favorite old school comedies, including Baker Mayfield, who had this to say about a leg injury he suffered in the Browns' big win over the Bungles.
I'm good though, it was merely a flesh wound on my left knee.
This, of course, is a reference from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
You've got no arms left! Just a flesh wound.
And later in the day, Greg Olson worked a Dumb and Dumber line into the Broncos-Cowboys broadcast.
What a turn of events.
This is unbelievable.
Our pets' heads are falling off.
We got no food, we got no car.
Very solid, but my challenge for you, Greg, is to work this in next week.
Go look at the fun bags on that hose hound.
Meanwhile, in the Patriots' win over the Panthers, wide receiver Jacoby Myers is quietly becoming the NFL's version of the 40-year-old virgin, having set the record for most receiving yards without a score. After the game, Myers' teammate J.C. Jackson responded with the quote of the day when he was asked by a reporter to take him through his third quarter pick six.
You want me to take you back to the whole play? Yeah. I mean, you can watch it on the internet. Which
is the exact same thing I tell my in-laws when they ask what TV channel my show is on. Now, the Patriots intercepted 3 Sam Darnold passes, including an incredible pick by ex-Lions linebacker Jamie Collins, his first since being reunited with his former team. But since we don't have the rights to the footage, here's some other incredible footage of a reunited Lion. Gets me every time. Speaking of internet videos, Odell Beckham's father released an 11-minute low-light video on social media, which compiled all of the times his son was open but didn't get the ball from Baker. And while the Browns quarterback publicly took the high road, not me. You're welcome, Baker.
Take a look at this video. It shows Beckham confronting and allegedly spanking a police officer.
I really don't like water. I'm trying. I really just don't like it. You know, when you get that stomach feeling, it's all slushy.
CBS Evening News ran an inspiring story about an 82-year-old pole vaulter in Texas.
Don Isett is the nation's top pole vaulter in his age group.
Wow, that's really cool.
And pretty much the only pole vaulter in his age group.
Can you really be considered the best at something if you're the only one competing? This is like saying former power forward Charlie Villanueva is the greatest player in the history of the NBA without eyebrows. In basketball news, Scottie Pippen sat down with numerous outlets, including GQ, to discuss his new book, Unguarded, which I actually thought was the title of Aaron Rodgers' new book. Interviewing the former NBA great was GQ staff writer Tyler Tynes, who made the bold choice to show up looking like one of Pippen's former teammates. The interview was mostly a regurgitation of Pippen's old grievances, but the highlight, at least for me, was seeing the Gen Z GQ writer attempting to pronounce the name of former Suns forward Dan Marley, who spells it like this.
You leaked a trade rumor in 1994 about Dan Majuro.
Not covered in Scottie's book was my favorite Pippen story, which involved teammates Michael Jordan and Horace Grant.
Before the New York game earlier in the month, Jordan, Pippen, and Grant, all of whom had boys under 3 at the time, had debated for half hour about whose child had the biggest penis. What? They eventually agreed it was Pippen's.
Stay classy, Chicago. Money talks. After being traded by the only team he's ever known, Von Miller got teary-eyed in an impromptu interview as he left the team facility.
Seeing the pictures when I was walking out, it just made me tear up, but we always got Super Bowl 50.
Earlier in the day, Miller recorded a more formal goodbye in which he specifically thanked the people in Denver who made this chapter of his career so rewarding.
I have so much love for you guys, so much love for the city, so much love for my teammates, so much love for my colleagues at the stadium and at the practice facility. I love all my coaches that have coached me throughout all of these years, and all the teammates that I've had, and the equipment guys and the field guys and the chefs and Arch, helping out in the cafeteria.
And Tina in accounting, Jerry, the janitor, CJ, TJ, JT, Cuz, Double Down Donnie, Artie the snail, the squirrely guy at the front desk, whose name I don't know. Geez, Vaughn, at one point, I thought the Broncos video team was going to play Miller off like it was the Academy Awards.
I think about Peyton Manning, Brian Dawkins, Champ Bailey, Tim Tebow, DeMarcus Ware, Elvis Dumerville, Wesley Woodyard, all the great leaders that I've seen come through here. Shane Ray, Shaq Barrett, Malik Reed, Jonathan Cooper, Lorente McCray, playing with Champ Bailey and Chris Harris, and being able to play with Justin Simmons and Kareem Jackson and Bradley Chubb and Elvis Dumerville, Sean Phillips, DeMarcus Ware. Man, the list it goes on and on and on and on.
And while many Broncos fans wondered why one of the greatest players in team history was callously traded away, reports begin to leak. According to Pro Football Network, Miller became upset when teammates declined to kick in for his annual Halloween party. Or in the words of Snoop Dogg, everybody got their cups, but they ain't chipped in. According to the report, though, Miller's request for financial help came as a surprise to his teammates, which seems like a weird rich guy move. Invite all your friends over for a big party and then present everyone with the bill. But it apparently didn't seem that weird to tight end Noah Fant.
I did not attend, but I had a conversation with Vaughn afterwards, and I still paid just because if I knew I wasn't going to go, I should have spoken up and said something.
So, how should Vaughn have handled the whole Halloween situation? I wouldn't begin to know, considering I'm not in this world of millionaire athletes. I don't know the common etiquettes, and I'm certainly not privy to Vaughn's complex thinking on the matter. Though I do think this, Vaughn's answer to the chicken or the egg question, gives us some insight into how his mind works.
So what came first, dude, the chicken or the egg?
It had to have been the chicken.
We got it.
Odd man out. As you may have heard, Aaron Rodgers is in hot water after the Packers quarterback seemingly misled the media about his vaccination status. But if you listen closely to the original press conference in question, you'll hear that not every reporter was buying what Rodgers was selling at the time.
Yeah, I've been immunized.
Bullshit!
There's a lot of conversation around it.
Rodgers claimed his resistance to the vaccine was mainly due to allergies and fertility concerns. But that explanation didn't seem to satisfy Terry Bradshaw.
I'd give Aaron Rodgers some advice. It would have been nice if he'd have just come to the Naval Academy and learned how to be honest.
Yeah.
And I actually agree with Terry, though for different reasons, because if it's healthy semen Rodgers is after, there is no better place to go than the Naval Academy. Now, personally speaking, I'm a little skeptical of Rodgers' fertility rationale, because A, the CDC says there's no evidence that shows the vaccine causes fertility problems, and B, does this sound like a guy really worried about his fertility?
I don't like to make a lot of excuses for interceptions. That one was entirely due to the double nut shot I took.
Rodgers, in that same interview, said he hasn't worn a protective cup since 8th grade, which may sound pretty backwards until you remember this is the same guy who'd rather get a double nut shot than a double Pfizer shot. One of Rodgers' harshest critics, though, was Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio, who compared the Packers quarterback's mincing of words to an old episode of The Brady Bunch.
He was asked a direct question. He played a stupid game. It reminded me, and Miles, this is way, way, way before your time. There was an episode of The Brady Bunch back in the early 70s where Greg Brady was quick to point out to his father, those weren't your exact words.
Now, probably, like you, this Greg Brady reference was before my time. But I'm not too old to remember another classic moment involving the Green Bay QB and a different Brady.
Hey, you guys. Oh, my nose!
Ouch! Now, Rodgers on McAfee's show claimed he's been immunized homeopathically, based on advice from podcaster and UFC commentator Joe Rogan, whose most extensive medical experience appears to be diagnosing cauliflower ear. Now, I have a theory, though, for which I have zero evidence, but am 100% sure is true. The main person filling Rodgers' head with unproven homeopathic gobbledygook isn't Rogan, but Rodgers' fiancée, Shailene Woodley. My evidence? A 2013 interview she gave in which she said this: I gather my own spring water from the mountains every month. I go to a farm to get my food. I make everything from my own toothpaste to my own body lotions and face oils. I make my own medicines. I don't get those from doctors. Wow, you make your own toothpaste, huh? In a related note, 9 out of 10 dentists recommend that Aaron Rodgers not marry this woman. And while it's impossible to say how much of Woodley's homeopathic remedies are rubbing off on Rodgers, by reading the herbal tea leaves, I'd say plenty. All right, that's it for today. Tune in next week for some more of my savage takedowns of all the major players in sports. Who will be my next victim? Oh, and subscribe now for a weekly helping of this total nonsense. Odd Man Sports.
It's in the game.